You ever get that uneasy feeling in a place that's supposed to be fun? That's exactly what happened to me at the city's annual carnival last summer. It was a balmy night, perfect for cotton candy and carnival rides, but I ended up with something much worse than a stomachache. The night started out innocently enough. I went with my friend Jamie. We were both in our mid-20s, looking for a little nostalgia and maybe some cheap thrills. The lights were bright, the music loud, and the smell of fried food intoxicating. We spent hours playing rigged games and laughing at the absurdity of it all. But then, we stumbled upon something we hadn't noticed before. An old, creaky carousel tucked away in a darker corner of the grounds. It looked ancient, like it had been there forever, with peeling paint and horses whose eyes seemed to follow you. Jamie, always up for something weird, insisted we give it a try. The ride was almost deserted, save for a bored-looking operator who barely glanced at us as we handed over our tickets. There was something off about him too, but we shrugged it off. It was just part of the carnival's charm, right? The carousel started slow, the music a haunting off-key melody. But as it picked up speed, something changed. The lights dimmed and the air grew colder. I clung to my horse, glancing over at Jamie, who was grinning like a maniac. I tried to laugh it off, but a chill ran down my spine. What was supposed to be a harmless ride felt wrong. Then I saw them. The other riders weren't your typical carnival goers. They were dressed in old-fashioned clothing, their expressions vacant and unsettling. I nudged Jamie, who didn't seem to notice anything strange. It was like we had slipped into another time, another place. My pulse quickened and I felt trapped, like a bug in a jar. As the carousel whirled faster, the faces of the riders became clearer. They weren't just vacant, they were familiar. I could swear I'd seen them somewhere before, in old photos or something. One woman in particular caught my eye. She looked like she stepped straight out of a 1920s photograph, her eyes hollow and her mouth twisted in a silent scream. Panic bubbled up inside me. This wasn't normal. This wasn't right. The music warped, becoming a discordant mess, and the carousel's lights flickered violently. I yelled for the ride to stop, but my voice was swallowed by the chaos. Jamie's face had gone pale, and he was no longer grinning. He looked terrified, mirroring my own fear. The operator was nowhere to be seen, and the carousel spun faster and faster, the world outside a blur. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the ride screeched to a halt. The lights snapped back to normal, and the eerie music cut off mid-note. Jamie and I stumbled off, our legs shaky. The other riders were gone, vanished like a bad dream. We looked at each other, both trying to catch our breath, and without a word, we bolted from the carousel. We spent the rest of the night in silence, the fun sucked out of the carnival. When I looked back, the carousel stood still and dark, as if nothing had happened. But I knew what I saw. We both did. To this day, Jamie and I avoid that part of town. Some things are better left forgotten. What do you think really happened on that old carousel? Was it just a trick of the mind, or did we stumble upon something truly otherworldly? Have you ever experienced something that made you question reality, something that still haunts you to this day? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And if this tale left you unsettled, stay tuned. The next one, The Fortune Teller's Warning, will take you on an even more eerie journey. You won't want to miss what happens next. If you've ever been to a carnival, you know the allure of the fortune teller's tent. The mystery, the thrill of peeking into the unknown, it's all part of the fun. But sometimes, curiosity can lead you down a path you'd rather not walk. It was a humid night last August, and my friend Alex and I were wandering through the carnival, enjoying the typical sights and sounds. We were both in our early 20s, carefree and a little buzzed from a couple of beers. The lights of the midway were inviting, and the air was filled with the sweet aroma of funnel cakes. We had just finished a round of bumper cars when we noticed the fortune teller's tent tucked away near the edge of the fairgrounds. "Come on, let's do it," Alex urged, always the adventurous one. I hesitated, not really believing in that stuff, but I was curious. The tent was small, covered in deep purple fabric with gold stars, and a sign outside read, "Madame Zara, Seer of Souls." Cheesy but intriguing. We entered, and the atmosphere changed instantly. The air inside was cooler, filled with the scent of incense. The dim lighting was provided by candles, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Madame Zara herself was an older woman, her face lined with age, but her eyes sharp and penetrating. She motioned for us to sit at a small round table draped in a velvet cloth. A crystal ball sat in the center, surrounded by tarot cards. "Who wishes to see their future?" she asked, in a voice that sent a shiver down my spine. Alex, ever the skeptic, shrugged and nodded towards me. "You go first," he said, grinning. Reluctantly, I placed my hands on the table as instructed. Madame Zara studied me for a moment, then began shuffling the tarot cards with surprising speed and grace. She laid them out in a spread, her eyes narrowing as she examined them. The atmosphere grew tense, the candles flickering more intensely. "You have a dark shadow following you," she said, her voice low and serious. I laughed nervously, thinking it was part of the act, but her expression remained stern. "No, really," she insisted. "This is not a joke. A spirit from your past has found you, and it's not friendly." My laughter died in my throat. Alex rolled his eyes, clearly unimpressed, but I felt a chill creep over me. Madame Zara continued, "There is a place you must avoid. A mirror maze. Do not enter it. The spirit will try to trap you there. You must promise to stay away." Alex scoffed, and I forced a smile, playing along. But Madame Zara grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "Promise me," she demanded, her eyes boring into mine. I nodded, too unsettled to argue, and she released me, the tension breaking as she leaned back. We left the tent, Alex laughing it off as a scam. But her words stuck with me. The carnival had a mirror maze, one of those classic attractions where you get lost in reflections. We passed by it later, and Alex dared me to go in, mocking Madame Zara's warning. I refused, and he went in alone, calling me a coward. Minutes passed, and I waited by the entrance, the sounds of laughter and distorted carnival music mixing in the night air. But then, the laughter stopped. I peered into the maze, the lights reflecting endlessly. No sign of Alex. My phone buzzed, a text from him. "Help." I panicked, calling his name as I ventured in. The mirrors were disorienting, twisting reality. I felt watched, a cold dread seeping into my bones. I found him in a dead-end corner, pale and shaking. "There's something here," he whispered, eyes wide with fear. We both felt it, a presence, heavy and suffocating. We bolted out of there, the air feeling electric with tension. We never spoke about it again, but I'll never forget Madame Zara's warning. It wasn't just a carnival trick. Something was in that maze, something that wanted us. I still get chills thinking about it. Sometimes it's better not to know your future. There's something magical about a Ferris wheel at night. The slow, steady ascent, the breathtaking view from the top, the lights of the carnival glittering below. But sometimes that magic can take a dark turn. It was late September, and the carnival was in its last weekend before packing up for the year. My girlfriend Jenna and I decided to have one last night of fun before autumn settled in for good. The air was crisp, and the night was clear, perfect for one final ride on the Ferris wheel. We bought tickets, grabbed some popcorn, and joined the line. It was a busy night, but the atmosphere was lively and cheerful, just what we needed. As we approached the ride, I noticed a man standing off to the side, staring at the Ferris wheel. He was tall, with a scruffy beard and a worn-out hoodie. His eyes were fixed on the wheel, or maybe the people boarding it. Something about him gave me the creeps, but I shrugged it off. It was a carnival, after all. You always get a few oddballs. Jenna and I finally got into our carriage, the metal door clanging shut behind us. We snuggled close as the wheel started its slow climb. The view was spectacular, with the whole carnival stretching out below us, a sea of twinkling lights. We were at the top, enjoying the moment, when I noticed the man again. He was standing directly below us, looking up. Even from that height, I could feel his gaze, intense and unnerving. The wheel continued to turn, and we descended. The closer we got to the ground, the more I felt a sense of unease. The man was still there, his eyes following our carriage. I tried to shake the feeling, but it clung to me like a cold sweat. When we reached the bottom, the ride paused to let off passengers and take on new ones. Our carriage door opened, and I saw the man again, closer now. He was at the gate, staring straight at us. Jenna noticed him too and squeezed my hand. "Let's get off quickly," she whispered, her voice tight. We stepped out, trying to blend into the crowd, but as we walked, I could feel him following us. It was like a predator stalking prey, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I glanced back, and there he was, keeping a steady pace behind us. We tried to lose him in the crowd, weaving through games and food stalls, but he was always there, just a few steps behind. My heart was pounding, and Jenna's grip on my hand tightened. We ducked into a tent selling handmade crafts, hoping to shake him off. For a moment, it seemed like we had succeeded. We lingered, pretending to browse, but our eyes kept darting to the entrance. Just as we were about to leave, he appeared at the entrance, blocking our way. My stomach dropped. We needed a plan. Jenna spotted an emergency exit at the back of the tent, and we made a split-second decision. Grabbing her hand, I led us through the maze of tables and displays, bursting out the back door into a dark, empty alley behind the carnival grounds. We ran, the sound of the carnival fading behind us. My mind raced, searching for a way to lose this guy. We darted through shadows, sticking close to the walls, but he was relentless. I could hear his footsteps echoing behind us. We turned a corner and found ourselves in a dead end, the only light coming from a flickering street lamp. Jenna's breath was ragged, panic setting in. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Just when it seemed like there was no escape, a security guard rounded the corner, drawn by the noise. The man stopped in his tracks, his expression shifting from determination to something unreadable. The guard called out, asking if everything was all right. The man hesitated, then turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. The guard escorted us back to the carnival, where we reported the incident. They took it seriously, but there was little they could do without more details. The rest of the night, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, even after we got home. It was like the man had left an imprint on me, a lingering presence that refused to fade. We never went back to that carnival. Sometimes when I see a Ferris wheel, I think about that night and wonder who that man was and what he wanted. The memory still sends a shiver down my spine, a reminder that not all carnival thrills are fun and games. If you want to see more horror stories, check out my next video.